Well, if it isn't your lucky day, because you finally get to become a true Hotshot. That's right, you get to finally become the Emperor's finest. So we'll be going over the hottest build with all the best weapon combos and my favorite perks and blessings to take with them for Damnation. And every clip in this video is from Damnation Plus with all the full VODs for every weapon combo linked in the description on the alt channel. And the rest of the clips are from the live stream where I showed off and talked about all of this stuff for almost 2 weeks now, and channel members had even earlier access to all that stuff. For now though, I'm going to light this off with the Hotshot update. And this is basically the setup that I use 99% of the time now. It's really a one build fits all kind of deal because these feats are ridiculously strong. Confirmed kill gives an insane amount of toughness on demand, and the bonus grenades always let you have enough to take control of every single situation that you can run into. And in the past, we used to take bio-optic targeting on row 3, and it's still really strong on blackout and vent purge, but you really want to be killing all the ranged elites and shooty boys by yourself to keep your ultimate up, and what your team doesn't know exists can't hurt them. And Demolition Team is going to give them a bunch of extra grenades to help deal with anything they can run into. This feat makes things like high G and high hounds an absolute walk in the park. When those grenades start spam proccing and you have a zealot just spamming those stun grenades, it trivializes almost every fight that could even get out of control, and more Ogren lunchboxes are always a good thing. But the rest of this is really standard and just revolved around keeping your 70% toughness damage reduction up, with enough reload speed to make sure counterfire can keep your ultimate up with no issues, and that way you can have that ridiculous amount of bonus damage up for almost the entire game, letting you blaze through any map without having to worry about incoming range damage at all. And there's a ton of amazing weapon combos that you can run with this build that will hard carry any team, but my absolute favorite right now is the plasma gun. You know I've been in love with this gun since December. I've made whole videos just about the plasma gun because I love it so much, and it really gives you that true Hotshot vibe. Just don't forget your shades. The cooling changes will basically let you keep cooking forever, and you can vent spam to only take toughness damage now. And with the setup we run, you'll never run out of toughness. As a matter of fact, you'll have a little bit too much of it. So I showed this off on the live stream about 2 weeks ago, and the Emperor's old technology way back in February, but we're going to lock it all into one place. And if you haven't used it in a while, it's been buffed a few times and it has some insane cleave now, making having a good roll on it even more important than before. And it absolutely feels terrible without max damage and stopping power and a really high charge rate. In the past, I molded a bunch of people by saying it was a skill diff weapon and then rolled a bunch of ones and exploded a bunch of times. I thought it was really funny, but it's still true that the weapon has some kind of skill cap. It's just a lot easier to use now and a lot more fun, which is the most important thing. And when you take max rank Glory Hunter, it trivializes everything because when you combine it with confirmed kill, you regenerate like 45% of your toughness with just one elite kill instantly and another 25% over time, basically making you unkillable, and it just lets you keep venting forever. And over the last couple weeks, I've tested Blaze Away, Volatile, and Gets Hot as the secondary blessings. But for now, I think Blaze Away gets the most value. You consistently get about 20 to 30% extra damage, and you really only need unyielding damage to help deal with the big boys and monstrosities. But Carapace, Flak, and Maniac are all really solid secondaries depending on what you prioritize killing faster. I'm personally using Maniac right now, but all three have situations where they can be good because we don't really need reload speed on it anymore. The animation cancel technology is usually enough by itself, so when you combine it with one after another, you get a nice smooth reload for the rare times that you actually have to do it. And I know most people can't be bothered to animation cancel it, so it just ends up working out either way. And the weapon I like taking the most with the plasma gun is the Mark V combat axe, just because of how fast you can pull it out and start tearing melee up with just a really standard loadout. And if you've been watching for a while, you know I always used to take the power sword with it, but needing to charge it up was a hang up that I stopped liking with the plasma gun specifically, because the speed is what really mattered here to round it out for every situation. But even after its nerf, the power sword is perfect to pair with all of the other ranged weapons you want to take with this build, and it's still insanely good with the plasma gun too. I think that one will just come down to personal preference. It also has the added bonus of ruining the gameplay experience of gatekeepers, so to make sure you lock in the most fun you can have, RNG your way to the top with Power Cycler and Slaughterer, and it gets even better when you combine it with Maniac and Flak damage, so you can cleave down the map even faster than Fat Shark can nerf you. But if you don't have Power Cycler, just get Brutal Momentum for now with the same setup. It still gives you a ton of power and lets you not rely on being charged up to RP as the hottest thing in town. But it does get even hotter when you start pairing it with the Bolter. This is actually one of the two strongest weapons with the Hotshot build, But because it says Hotshot, we had to start with the hottest weapon, which is the plasma gun, obviously. So there's two ways to run the bolter right now, and the first is the old crit chance bolter. This thing's always going to do well in almost every situation and has been pretty consistent since launch. But if you want to prepare for the future, you'll want a raw damage bolter for when Ripper rounds actually come out. And ideally, you would want pinning fire again, but you would take Blaze Away as the secondary, and you would want to be able to re-roll Blaze Away in the future. And for perks, you really want to take Unyielding with either Maniac or Flak damage. I think shooting through the unarmored targets right into the Flak armor is probably going to be more valuable, but it's something we'll have to wait and see when we actually get that blessing. But the bolter isn't for everyone, even though it's insanely cool, and that's where the Shredder Autopistol comes into play. It's easily the most aggressive with its ridiculous power scaling on its blessing combo, letting both of these have insane grenade presence while also melting everything without even really having to think about it. It really lets you W key through entire rooms of shooty boys. So for perks, really anything works. I use Maniac and Flak damage myself, but after crunching the numbers, Unarmored has some situations where it hits arms and legs where it does okay because of the bloom, and Unyielding is always an insanely solid pickup. Either way, you're going to have an easy time because the blessings alone are enough to just make this thing amazing and turn any lobby into a point-and-click adventure. But I'm also going to future-proof the guide just in case they nerf it. So I've got a few other ranged weapons that are always solid, with one of the most efficient being the Mg12. I really like the crit loadout with this thing because it goes insanely hard and deletes almost every target sub a crusher, but the raw damage Lasgun has a ton of situations where it can be good too. And the reason I make multiple versions of weapons is because there's a lot of different things you can prioritize, so it makes a bunch of different things actually good. And some people just hate crit chance, so it helps everyone out and gives you more options instead of just being locked into one thing. A lot like the Mark V Infantry Autogun. At a glance, you would think this thing's just terrible, but on the veteran with the ult up, it's pretty insane. This was buffed a while ago to be a hybrid super machine gun that's basically impossible to control when you're aimed in outside of your ult, but if your ult's down, you can hip fire it like a braced autogun, and it's a really fun pickup if you haven't tried it yet. But if that's not enough for you, the Mark 8 braced autogun is still one of the best all-around backbone weapons you can bring, and is always going to be one of my go-tos with the added bonus of the crispiest audio. If you turn your bass up, it'll vibrate your brain just enough to help you forget about all of your troubles. So after you're done shaking your brain up, the last gun I love taking in is the Mark II Helbore Lasgun. It's pretty much the best all-around weapon for everything and can one-shot shooty boys without charging up. So with Onslaught, it really starts feeling good to just spam with and deletes everything, even crushers and monstrosities. Even chat's vote tier list was insanely accurate when it came to these, and this was an event we did on Friday where they voted for every single weapon. So as you could imagine, it was not only chaos, but somehow ended up being pay to win. So the Mark I is always the runner-up, and the Mark III is just too slow to be fun to use, and this build even works for the shotguns when played well. So both the Slug and Fire Shotgun can get a ton of value here, just make sure you get no respite for the crazy damage scaling. But either way, any combination of these weapons with this build will let you take complete control of every game and be the hotshot Giga Chad everyone loves to hate with a one-size-fits-all build. But if you really want to round out the entire kit perfectly, you're always going to have the best Curios. So again, the recommendation is 1 HP, 1 toughness, and 1 wound, just for a balanced kit to be consistent in every game type, and you should only drop down to 2 wounds once you're very confident in melee and stop taking needless damage. But once you do an extra toughness or HP, both go a long way, and it really depends on you. If you're taking too much bleed through damage, then go for the HP, and if you're not taking any bleed through damage, go for the toughness. But +3 stamina, again, it can be really good, and it's something to go for down the road, but that Curio needs to be god rolled to be worth taking. But otherwise, once you get toughness regen speed, you'll just feel way stronger when you have it on all 3, and when you support it with combat ability regen, it helps get your ultimate on cooldown faster for the times when it doesn't roll over, but stamina regen, again, is just one of the strongest things for supporting you in melee, and I've been replacing combat ability regen with it. But if you can't get a third thing, then extra toughness and extra HP are always really solid. But the real secret technology is bonus ordo dockets. It is what it is. And like always, I think bringing a balanced kit to compensate for all of your weaknesses and enhancing your strength is something you should always do. And pretty much any combination of what I talked about will give you a ton of success across all of Darktide. It's what I personally do, and I have tons of VODs showing all of it working. So if you want to hang out on the live stream to see me using all these builds or testing new stuff out, I announce all of it when I go live in Discord, and the text guides like this are linked in there too. I'm also planning another chat event for later this week, and I want to thank everyone for showing up to the last one. It was insanely fun. It was one of the most fun things I've actually done on Darktide, so hopefully we can make the next one even better. And don't forget, all of these VODs are linked in the description for every weapon combo, either from my alternate channel or a stream VOD. And joining as a channel member really helps me out and gets you this adorable man as an emote for the best moments. Oh, what? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, not again.